What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of How Safe Is It, where today we are looking at Kendall, Miami. Now, Kendall is a census-designated place and an unincorporated area in Miami-Dade County, Florida. We will be taking a look at each one of these areas so you can see which ones might be the best for you if you are looking to move to Kendall. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the population is 148,676 people. So let's get into the video. We got 4 townships here in Kendall: Southwest Miami, West Kendall, South Kendall, and East Kendall. But let's check out the statistics and see how it really ranks. For starters, in Southwest Miami, the total crime rate here is 37% lower than the national average. Violent crimes are 42% lower than the national average, and property crimes are 35% lower than the national average. Here, the total crime rate is 43% lower than the national average. So it is still lower, but it is the highest out of all 4 townships. You got a little bit of a cluster here in Southwest Miami, a couple areas in West Kendall, a couple areas in East Kendall, and then really nothing in South Kendall. So that is why South Kendall is the safest. Violent crimes are 49% lower, and property crimes are 41% lower. So this is the safest one out of the 3 that we have looked at so far. So this looks like a pretty good place to live. That is up 12% over the last year, and 5% above the national average. They also say that the typical home here has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and goes for about $480,000. Median monthly mortgage payment in Kendall is $2,400. The overall crime rate in Kendall is 29% lower than the national average, which is pretty good. I drive through here all the time and I see new construction everywhere. So if you are someone who is interested in a brand new house, so if you are raising a family or you have kids or grandkids or whatever, and you're looking for a nice place to live, Kendall is a good option. Healthcare is 11% above the national average, and groceries are 11% above the national average. But again, if you make 6% more than the national average, it kind of balances out. Kendall might be the place for you because they are building tons of them. So you got to figure in gas, car maintenance, insurance, all that stuff. So the commute might be a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it depends on where you work and where you live and how far you have to commute. But I would still say that any of these 4 townships are pretty safe compared to other places. Violent crimes are 47% lower, and property crimes are 28% lower. So again, pretty good, but slightly higher than Southwest Miami. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. If you want a safe place to live with a low crime rate, Kendall is a good option. Like I said, it is not perfect. There is crime here, but it is very low compared to the national average. So that's always good. Their violent crime rate is 36% lower than the national average, and their property crime rate is 23% lower than the national average. Then you got a few houses here and there that had burglaries, maybe a car theft or something like that. But overall, looking at the entire area, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, there is definitely crime, don't get me wrong, but compared to a lot of other cities and towns and neighborhoods, this one is pretty low. So they are doing pretty good when it comes to crime. The city services are awesome. The parks are beautiful and well maintained. There's plenty of shopping opportunities, great schools, and low crime rate. Another comment said this: Kendall is a very nice community. The police officers do their job to keep it safe. The streets are always clean and well maintained. Good schools, good shopping and restaurants. If you want to live a decent life, Kendall is the place to be. Another person says, I love Kendall. Been living here almost 15 years. Crime is not bad. The police are everywhere, especially on weekends. Supermarkets are open late. Very clean and green. Nice people. Love this community. And lastly, Kendall is a nice place to live. You have different options for shopping. Crime is not that bad compared to other places. Schools are good, and they have many parks and golf courses. And first, we're going to take a look at some comments that people have left about living in Kendall. Kendall is great. It's clean. So like I said, those are just a few comments from people who live in or around the Kendall area. Now, when it comes to the crime rate, they say that Kendall is a pretty safe place to live. But we're gonna break it down by each township and see which ones are the safest. Now let's take a look at West Kendall. In West Kendall, their total crime rate is actually 32% lower than the national average. Next, we have South Kendall. And then last but not least, we have East Kendall, where the total crime rate is actually 24% lower than the national average. When you compare the four to each other, you can see that South Kendall is the safest, with East Kendall being the least safe. And if we take a look at the crime map, you can see that there is red on here, meaning that there is crime. But for the most part, it is pretty minimal. When it comes to things like burglary, you have a little bit of a larger cluster in West Kendall, but nothing too crazy. And then you also got to remember that these are just the statistics. These are just what has been reported, and every single neighborhood or community or area isn't going to be the same. So even though the stats say that there's no crime, there probably is. It's just not been reported or not caught on camera. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the household income median in Kendall. And according to Area Vibes, it is $58,656, which is pretty good. Now that is the medium, so half make more, half make less. But still, that is pretty good money. If we take a look at the cost of living, it is 6% higher than the national average. So that is a little bit higher. But when you think about the fact that the household income is 6% higher than the national average, then it kind of balances out. But you also got to consider that real estate is 21% above the national average. When it comes to housing, the average home value in Kendall, Miami, is $491,000. Now here is the thing. Depending on where you live in Kendall, that could be true, but I think that is just for the area overall. Now if we take a look at Zillow, you can see that homes for sale range anywhere from $225,000 to $12 million. Most of the homes that are selling are going for about $400,000 to $700,000. But like I said, you do have some really expensive ones here. Now what's nice about Kendall is that you have a variety of different types of homes. You have your traditional homes like this. You have condos, townhomes, you have mobile homes, you have manufactured homes. So it doesn't matter what you are looking for, you can probably find it here in Kendall. They also have a lot of new construction going on. Schools in Kendall, they get an A+ rating. One downside to Kendall, like I said earlier, the cost of living is a little bit higher than the national average. But you also got to consider the fact that if you work in Miami, you're probably going to be driving in every day. Overall, I would say Kendall is a great place to live. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today.